So today we explore the not-so-popular side of PS4 gaming. Not every title is critically acclaimed, but sometimes that's how you find the hidden gems and cult classics. So today we venture off the beaten path to a section of reviews that are not deemed as valuable by the bigwigs. I thought I'd do something special for our sixth wave of PS4 game reviews, and that is bring you the black sheep of the PS4 family. The games that you go to the game store and see on the shelves, but you're not sure if you should buy because they're priced so cheaply, or you've never seen a review, or maybe never even seen the game on the shelf before. Well, this is an homage to those types of games. We're going to start with Abzu. This is rated E for everyone and is by 505 Games and Giant Squid Studios. Nice cover art in the front. If you're to open the case, this is what you'll see on the inside. And then on the back, you have some decent cover art. It actually looks really pretty. What lies underneath the ocean is very beautiful in this game. And it's rated E for mild fantasy violence. It's difficult to find a game that strives to calm you down like this one, but when you do, I say cheers. Just for a moment, in a world of stimulants, visit the other end of the spectrum and experience how serene life can be under the ocean. You can observe the sea life, watch plants sway, explore ancient ruins, and do some light puzzle solving in a few spots, but mostly, you will just swim, and that's not a bad thing. Watching the reactions and behaviors of the fish is exhilarating and non-threatening. If you're enthralled by nature and a powerful ecosystem to power the sheer beauty it possesses, glide to the game store without hesitation. And so our next title is called Area, and before I bought this game, I really had to study the cover and decide whether or not it'd be something that I would enjoy. And the two things that sold it for me were the instruments, because I do love music, and also the fact that it was made by Sodesco, which is one of my favorite black sheep kind of independent type developers. So I got it because of those two reasons mostly. This is the collector's edition rated E10+, and if you open it up, you can see on the right you have the original soundtrack, and then you'll get the game as well. On the back there is your cover art right there, and then at the very bottom you see that it's rated E10+ for fantasy violence. So we'll just talk about this right now. What they should have done is name this title Areola, because it reminds me of what you do to that part of the body. Now, I'm all for an incorporation of musical instrumentation in my playthrough, so that was a good idea, but its execution was as amateur as a night out to a coffee shop gig. Boring mazes and puzzle solving plagued this title as you grudgingly play through it for 8 hours of an ensemble. Its difficulty was laughable and uninteresting. Even a mediocre use of color palette and enemy design couldn't save this game from being painful to get through. Come on, Sodesco, I know you can do better than these subpar games. This next game took some self-persuasion to pick up off the shelf and pay $40 for, which was the new asking price for this one. But nonetheless, I did, and I played it for all of you. This one is called The Binding of Isaac Afterbirth. This one's rated M for Mature by Nicholas, and if we open up the case, we can see that there's some pretty cool cover art with some little icons there and little titles underneath. And then you have a little body with a baby's crying head up there for the disc. If you remove that, you can see that there's a little hole where the head should go. So that was kind of a cool little addition they did on the inside cover art. And you know, that's kind of what sold this game to me, is just some of the artwork I saw was intriguing and I wanted to see more. So this one's rated M for blood and gore, crude humor and violence, and there's a lot to say about this, so let's just get started here now. If tears were balloons, I'd float away. I think this game has way too much praise by its critics, so I'm here to identify its weaknesses and exploit it for its shortcomings. But first, I will briefly discuss its appeal. If you can appreciate originality, the overall tone is no doubt intriguing. Also, the game is set up to randomize encounters, so it always seems fresh to pick up strange items and learn of their abilities. Now, just because I like the original Legend of Zelda dungeon structure doesn't quite mean it works well here. Its confusing theme takes any and all joy out of navigating these corridors, and I guess seeing piles of poo in your front yard isn't annoying enough. Oh no, now you have to use your tear bombs to dissolve them in nearly every room. There are some games that use a pixelated theme like this one that work well, but this makes you continually wish the use of the PS4 graphics were utilized, rather than straining your eyes to see the 16-bit Super Nintendo-like block figures. At least you have the 60 frames per second, but it's still a painful experience. For the last disappointing piece of information, the multiplayer is a complete steaming puddle of baby dung. With no side characters able to collect items and one heart of life, you might as well plan on leaving the game within minutes. Not to mention your character can't respawn without Isaac getting coins. It's truly a travesty, and a waste of time. Remember those times you wish you were a baby again? Well, avoid reliving the past here at all costs. And our next game, we bring you not Hot Shots Golf, not your golf, not his golf. This is everybody's golf. And it is rated E for everyone. And this is only on PlayStation. It isn't exclusive. If you open up the inside, you can see that it has a little, advertisement for Knack 2 there, which is actually in this review, so we're going to see that later. And then on the inside underneath that, you can see that there's a little bit of artwork going on. Not too much, but that's what you're going to get. It's rated E for mild language and mild suggestive themes. It's tea time, and we're talking about this now. We're not reinventing the wheel here. If you've ever played Hot Shots Golf, it's very familiar territory, and that's not exactly a bad thing. Overall, the game has kicked it up a notch in gameplay, graphics, and enjoyment, but a small jump may not be enough for those who hate the idea of this sport. I know people who still won't play simply because it's golf and nothing more. If there's one thing that teased me off about this particular installment, it's that unlocks take far too long to achieve, and I won't even get into the microtransactions issues. Despite its shortcomings, in the end, it's an homage to a sport that does well with a cartoon makeover. Our next title is The Evil Within 2, and this may be a game you don't feel belongs to this particular type of reviews, but it is kind of a game that, to me, I felt like it wasn't as popular. It was one of those games that was high priced and it dipped down to a really low price and then went back up again. And I just wasn't really interested at first. But now that I picked it up, I'm very glad that I did. It is rated M for Mature by Tango Gameworks and Bethesda, one of the best game developers of all time. I should have known better and just got it because they did a lot of work in this that was really good. So on the back, there's your cover art. And at the bottom, you can see that's rated mature for blood and gore, intense violence, partial nudity, and strong language. So let's just get into The Evil Within 2. I'm glad to see our run-of-the-mill survival horror franchise open up a bit and take to the streets. The lighting has really amped up this sequel of several years later, and the tone has been complemented nicely by it. In a world such as this, desperation is an important key to unlocking the true potential of terror. And although I feel the first Evil Within captures this better, the sequel feels more focused. Its creatures stand out as menacing, and its ghosts are crafted with all the frills needed for a good scare. There's plenty to like if you decide to stagger to your local game outlet and pick this haunter up. Just be warned, it may keep you up at night a little later than usual. Flying in next, we have Knack 2. With pretty cool looking cover art there. I really dug that cover art, better than the first one for sure. Rated E10 plus, and this one is by Japan Studio. It is rated E10 plus for fantasy violence. There is some really cool looking artwork on the back there. Yeah, there's a lot to say about Knack 2. I was actually pretty surprised and caught off guard a bit here, especially by the Iron Man looking suit that he possesses there. So let's talk about Nick Knack Paddywhack. Give a dog a bone. Well, at least a semi-chubby, right? So I didn't know what to expect getting into this sequel because the first exclusive of this title wasn't exactly mind-numbing. But as I trotted my way to completion, I had a much better time disassembling and reassembling myself. Stories and characters are still as mundane as ever, unfortunately, and add nothing to the campaign. I'm still trying to decide if my affinity to this title has anything to do with the blatant likeness Knack has to Iron Man, but I would like to think I have control over my subconscious enough to disregard my bias to superheroes. Aside from the copyright concerns, I felt Knack 2 was a step up from Japan Studio's first creation and even had some co-op hijinks for those groups of two looking for a PS4 date. And our next installment that does deserve to be on this list is Lords of the Fallen. This is rated mature and is by CI or GI Games. I'm not sure which, but nonetheless, I've never heard of either of them, so it doesn't really matter. This is the complete edition. If we open it up on the inside, we can see what it's going to look like, and then on the back, it has some really nice presentation and artwork there on the back. I really like that. It is rated mature for blood and some violence, and this game suffers from trying to be like every other of its kind. Shadow of War, Dark Souls, or Diablo. These are just a few of the big boys. The problem is it's only reaching adolescence next to the mature titles mentioned. Not to say there isn't some value here. The melee and spellcasting is done well for the most part. I like that you at least have the option to reclaim your experience upon death by finding your own ghost, but I despise the lack of direction the game has in finding your next objective. I'm not a huge fan of the graphics either. It feels rushed and the lighting is off. This title may not upset everyone, but in my book, it's a game that has fallen beneath its own aspirations. And next, we have a game that you would probably never thought to see in a review such as this. This one is Mass Effect Andromeda. This one is by BioWare and EA, rated mature. And why I say that is because you were thinking that Mass Effect would really be the next best thing after the PS3 versions. And this one was still good. There were some good things about this, but there's definitely some problems and some things that needed to be worked out. Here's the back. It's got a really nice presentation on the back, and it's rated M for blood, nudity, strong language, strong sexual content, and what do you know, violence. So if you open it up, this is what it's going to look like on the inside. And let's just talk about this one now to get it off our chests. Mass Effect is not what it once was, but not a complete throwaway. Its technical flaws walk up and greet you like a bothersome relative that spoils any gathering, but its sleek action-packed moments are reminiscent of its roots, and more than 3 hours in it does pick up in the upgrades department, and complements sci-fi combat nicely. Story is what becomes second to the glitches as a constant annoyance. The dialogue is pointless and time-wasting. I'm surprised I haven't seen a meme that exploits some of the plot points yet. I think so many were expecting a profound follow-up, but ended up getting marooned for mediocrity. Guys, next up we have Mighty Number 9. This one is by Deep Silver and Concept and rated E10+. Really loved the cover art on this. It reminds me of someone in particular. We all know who that is, I imagine, but has some pretty good presentation there. It's rated E for cartoon violence, and if we open it up, we can take a look at the inside, and this is actually the best part of the game right here. It comes with a poster right here, which is very cool, and then it has some artwork from the game, which is actually done really well. It's some really cool stuff in here, so I'm not complaining. Does look very nice, and like I said, some of the best part of the game is the booklet that's inside of it. So there you go. Let's go ahead and talk about this. When I saw the game, I really couldn't wait to get my hands on it because I figured it would be a fresh new PS4 graphics style Mega Man game, and let's just get into it now. Maybe if I close my eyes and just take in the sounds, I can relive my Mega Man days like a boss. Not bloody likely. I really wanted to see that next level of being the Blue Bomber, but this wasn't half the man it used to be, let alone Mega. The color palettes were weak and the gameplay dry. I seriously lost interest within 45 minutes of playing, but because I'm a dillweed, I went ahead and played it longer in hopes to find that smidgen of nostalgia. I gathered that a young person might latch onto this more so than a critical experienced gamer. So give it to a 9-year-old to knock themselves out with, because after that age, they will seem as if they have ADD when they drop it like a fresh vegetable. I guess they got the age of interest correct in the title. I hope that one day my subscriber number increases to, let's say, mighty 1,000, because I feel I've earned it after playing this one. And our next game is called Pure Pool. For those of you who hate other people, you don't have to go to the pool halls anymore. You don't have to go to the bowling alley. You can sit right on your couch and avoid all the riffraff out there and play a nice game of pool without having to avoid people behind you, hitting them with a cue stick. All you got to do is have a controller in your hand and be chilling at your pad. So this is rated E for absolutely no reasons. There's no grade on that at all. But I think it means to stay away from everyone is what that must mean. This is by Play It Guys, and it's got some pretty nice presentation. There you go. As you open it up, that's what it's going to look like on the inside. For the methodical or for the layman, we come to not the impure, but rather the pure side of pool with some moderate customization options. I don't know what it is, but seeing the detail of the felt on a table chocks my cue stick. I also appreciate a 360 reflection of the room on every ball I see. I think the directional assistance of trajectory is a nice option in gameplay, but can't I turn it off? Never found a way to do that exactly. I'm no pool shark, but I found this game to be moderately good and fun to play with a mate. Anyone remember the commercial of Visine, Get the Red Out? Well, that goes hand in hand with the title of this game. This is the Lightspeed Edition, rated E for everyone by 505 Games and 34 Big Things. Man, I can't even think of 34 big things right now, but I can definitely think of one, but not 34. Now, this is the inside of the cover, guys, and the back is presented really nicely, as you can see there. Race faster than ever is the catchphrase, and it is rated E with no reasons there on the right. So Red Out is the closest you're going to get to the classic F-Zero games on SNES. Imagine that, and then imagine buttery gameplay like Aunt Jemima's pancake syrup. This racer is gorgeous and begs to be experienced. It's a hidden gem in the PS4 racing world. I guess the only thing that turned me off a bit was how quickly your damage from running into the wall adds up. It takes away from the race when you're in the zone and lose structural integrity. At the price this is going for currently of around $10 to $15, Red Out will give you red eye, staying up too late to perfect it. Zooming our way in next, we have Sonic Forces, which is fairly a newer game, I would say. This is the bonus edition, rated E10+. Initially, it does come with a controller skin, I believe, but I didn't get that one with this particular copy because this one is a used copy. But there's your presentation artwork on the back. Looks really nice. There's what you would get if you were to get that skin for your controller. This is rated E for fantasy violence, and when you open it up on the inside, this is what you'll get. It does have some extra add-ons here that you can download with a code on the inside of that. So let's get right into this one. Now, when I say this game is colorful, I'm not referring to its vulgarity, just so we understand each other. No, I'm saying visually it's an explosion of input to your cones, and I'm not referring to your chest. I like the use of familiar zones from the classic Sonic with a twist, and particularly enjoyed the 3 different types of hedgehogs, including classic Sonic, Avatar, and modern Sonic. The views change from side-scrolling to behind, and mix it up depending on the level. Boss fights are done much better than expected, and I guess what I'm saying is this is the newest installment reignited, and this is reigniting my love for the game as well. What was once a breakthrough for Sega is now available to you once again. Next, I bring to you the first UK game that I have reviewed on PS4. This one is called Slain Back from Hell, and it is by Merge Games and Digerati, rated 16 for violence, and that is kind of a different grading system, as you can see that they got going over there. Here's your presentation, pretty cool looking. I kind of picked this up hoping that it would help me to relive my Castlevania days a little bit, and in some spots it did, but man, this game was just really frustrating in some spots, and I just did not like parts of it at all. But there were other parts that were really fun and did kind of give me a little bit of a nostalgic feel while I played it. So going back to hell is never a good thing unless you do it from the comfort of your gaming chair. Now, Slain doesn't exactly send you on a polished journey, but it tries hard to appeal to the hardcore platformer aficionado. What does look right is the atmosphere. You get a pixelated, intense side-scroller with mild puzzle solving and medium to difficult progression. The problems lie in the attack system. A button-mashing sword strike that doubles as an axe with a block that doesn't quite go the distance. Also, a blast can be sent out that is horribly underpowered, and then a counter sequence that is annoying to say the least. I can't say it's worth more than around $20, but hey, look at the bright side. That's a lot cheaper than your soul. Has anyone out there just been sitting back looking at your PS4 collection for the 156th time like myself and realized that there just is a title they bought that they should not have ever gotten in the history of mankind? Well, that is this one for me. This one's Stardust Valley. The collector's edition, rated E10+ by 505 Games. I thought it looked intriguing from the Legend of Zelda looking graphics on the front. Just thought it kind of looked like it'd be some fun, but it really wasn't. There's your presentation on the back. This is rated E for fantasy violence, mild blood, mild language, simulated gambling, and use of alcohol and tobacco. So I was kind of curious, I guess, too, how they fit all that into an E-rated game, but they did. But the problem is it's just drawn out over the course of about 1 million years. So anyway, Stardew Valley. Wow, as I cleaned up this overgrown world of Nintendo-like animation, I became the original Harvester of Sorrow from Metallica's Black Album. Never thought I could blend those two together, right? Well, it was my pleasure, but this wasn't exactly a pleasurable gaming experience. Have you ever been so interested in what happens next that you sit there and you grind like a mindless zombie until your eyes need some drops of Visine? This is what you'll get if you acquire this title. You literally pass out if you don't keep your strength within acceptable levels. This is the game they should have titled Back to Hell. And our next game is Transformers Devastation. And at first glance, I didn't think this one would be very good, but then I started really analyzing the cover and realized that everybody on the cover is looking just like the classic Transformers I remember from the 80s. So at that point, I dug a little deeper. I started looking at the back, and the same type of artwork, the same type of memories that I had were on the back. So it's rated T for fantasy violence, and I had to pick this up to see what was going on inside of this case. So let's talk about Transformers. OMG, this caught me by surprise. Original 1980s Transformer lineup with some of the original voice actors. I've been waiting for this since Michael Bay's bastardization of the franchise hit theaters back in 2007. Engaging combat, cel-shaded graphics, and instant fun makes Devastation hit the ground running. Can it hold you until the end though? If you focus in on the action and boss fights and forget the level designs and weapon tinkering, then the answer is yes. It's more than meets the eye once again, and that's what the true fans desire. So in my not-so-humble opinion, I feel Trials Fusion here is probably the best game that I will be showing you today. Just really a lot of fun here to be had, and makes you just appreciate physics that much more. So it's rated E10+, and it's by Ubisoft. If you open it on up, that's what you're going to get on the inside. And here is the back for you here, just showing you a little bit of some of the levels there. It's rated E10+ for mild language and mild violence. But guys, this was definitely one that is worth picking up. If you see it on the shelf and you're not really into sports or racing, put aside all your trivial preconceived notions about that and just pick it up, because it's a great game, guys. It's a fresh and unique look at physics from an overshadowing vantage point. This is what Excitebike dreamed it could be. This is a title that is as gorgeous as it is fun. The ups and downs will make you flinch as you traverse areas not meant for two wheels. It really is a must-buy and tests you just as much as it impresses you. After a small learning curve, you should be jumping, flipping, and crashing your way through hours of level completions without the hospital bill. Our next game up for discussion is Viking's Wolves of Midgard. This one includes the digital soundtrack and digital art book and is a special edition. It is by Calypso, who I believe brought us the Adventure Time series, and it's also rated M for mature. Here's the back. You got to see some presentation there on the back, and it is rated M for blood and gore, partial nudity, and some violence. If you open it on up, that's what you're going to see on the inside. I'm kind of going fast through this one because it's not really one I recommend to anyone at this point. I feel that it's just way behind its time and just didn't live up to what I really wanted to see from this game. So I'll start by answering everyone's question and say no. This is not the effing sequel to Vikings on PS3. It is, however, a hack-and-slash action RPG. I am focusing on everything as a whole, and I must say this is like a guide to how great Diablo became. It had the structure that was built upon by other great games in its genre, but it ends up disappointing because you inherently want these things and are ultimately disappointed. It is its own worst enemy in this respect. For a title that sits on the back burner, this one simmers at best. For our next title, we come across a bit of a surprise, and this one is called World to the West by Sedesco. Yep, one of my favorite independent game developers is at the helm here. This one is rated E10+, and if you open it on up on side, you can see what's going on there. Not much of a presentation going on the back, but you do have it rating for fantasy violence down here at the bottom. So let's just get right into the meat of this game. It was actually a lot better than I thought it would be. I can proudly say I reside in the West, and I have never seen landscapes such as these ones anywhere near me. Not even in Pokemon Go's real-time maps. But besides the obvious geographical inconsistencies, World to the West really takes you on a journey and gives you 4 players via totem poles to solve its puzzles. Treasure hunting takes no back seat to its exploration, but lacks the appeal of similar style games like The Legend of Zelda. From a distance, I can appreciate this game's ideas and bask in the glow of its puzzle-solving antics, but I can't in fairness say it's a game for everyone. I enjoyed it to a sufficient level, and I've always liked the art style in these Sedesco games, so you be the judge. At $10 to $15 currently, it won't empty your checking account. Now I'm going to look for some totem poles in my general vicinity to at least justify the claims of my geographical location. I'll let you know when I find one. And now we bring you a PS4 console exclusive game entitled Yakuza Kiwami. And this is the Steelbook edition by Sega, rated M. And I've always liked the Steelbooks. I've always thought they looked really nice. This is no exception. It looks great as well. There's the back for you there. And then at the bottom you get a mature rating for blood, intense violence, partial nudity, sexual themes, strong language, and use of alcohol. But definitely a surprise in the Yakuza world for me. I really liked this game a lot. So it's a remake from the first Yakuza 2005 with a much smaller time constraint compared to other installments. What would Yakuza be without plethoras of side missions and sexy dames to distract you for hours? But what wonderful distractions. This one is affordable and likes to put the top down while you ride out its campaign. Graphics don't look horrible, but one must keep in mind this franchise's direction in visuals, and accept the never-changing look of Tokyo. Of all the Yakuza titles, I found this one to be my favorite and one for the new ages. Now we have come to the last game in our PS4 reviews for you today. This one is entitled Ukulele by Team 17 Platonic and is rated E10+. This is what you're going to get on the inside if you open it on up. And it's got some really good art presentation for the kids on the back or for the adults, either way. It's rated E for mild cartoon violence, comic mischief, and here we go. Let's go ahead and get into the last game. But before we do, guys, thank you so much for watching once again. I really appreciate everybody and all the comments and all the feedback I get from everyone here. So keep watching, and I promise to bring you more awesome reviews. So funny, I didn't see a single ukulele in this whole game. Whatever could they be doing with this cartoon treachery? Well, they could be paying some attention to Nintendo 64 genres like Banjo-Kazooie, where there was also no banjo or kazoo for miles, and that would be a good follow-up idea for a title. Out of the 5 worlds you explore here, about 3 of them are done well. Does this stack up to the likes of its predecessors? Not exactly. But it isn't a bad game either. It just kind of exists, hence why it landed on my list of unpopulars. Not every game can meet the hardened expectations of the fickle gamer, but sometimes there's just one that can redefine the genre and pave the way toward brilliance. How will we know until we take some risks and buy the games off the shelves that may have a little extra dust on them? The fact is, we may never define ourselves as independent players until we remove the shackles of the critically acclaimed. Until next time, this is G1 Toys, as unpopular as our games we review.